Starlog, July 1st, 2022. So much has happened this week. Let me count the ways. I decided to really get into Twitter. I figured I had this kind of dormant account for the better part of a decade, and a friend of mine who got me started with it, at least inspired me to start an account. He's really big on Twitter, but he's very impassioned with the politics of what's going on today, which is, I think that is the right platform for, debating those issues. For me, I certainly am definitely reactionary to certain things. It's hard to ignore that I feel like it's like week 2. SCOTUS holding the country hostage with this assault on freedoms. I think that it's safe to say that the citizens of the United States of America are proverbially the children of a broken home, and the home that's broken is mom and or dad. I guess the Republicans would take offense to saying they're mom, so let's assume the Republicans would take the father position, and the Democrats being in the maternal position. They don't get along, or there is such an extreme rage going on that things that never did I think in my lifetime would happen are occurring on both sides. And I made another video on YouTube recently that talked about the golden era of Hollywood. And the reason I think that I want to circle back to that is because, at the very least, one of the positive aspects of a political debate or political ideologies that maybe collide or conflict is that if you believe essentially in the goodness of humanity, of mankind, and you believe that everybody is trying to get the best idea for the betterment of existence, then as an artist, I think that it's an interesting opportunity to depict everything and to work with that, and to also show how these ideologies might work. If I personally, believe it, I'm the artist, I'm the writer-director, so I'm in control of that. Or you think that they may not play out the way people intended them to be. This country, clearly, most people understand, not really clearly, but I hope most people understand, was founded on religious freedom. It's actually an argument that that's the foundation of the country. I think that's really one of the biggest issues that's really under attack. And I think that you have, for another way of looking at it, the left wing is attacking the Christian Coalition, which is being considered the sort of face of the Republican part of the GOP, that it's a Christian party, which I think unto itself is by nature, it's inappropriate, because obviously it's kind of a bigoted or prejudiced approach. There's Catholics that are Republicans, there's Jews that are Republicans, there are Muslims that are Republican, there are blacks, there are American Indians, they come from all sorts. There could be a skew that data suggests, and people want to, of course, give the epitome would be, the white, older, 60 and older, from below the Mason-Dixon line, from the Midwest, from the red states, that kind of thing. But then there's a presumption that somebody who's liberal-leaning, somebody who's left-leaning, is free-spirited and like a hippie, and they're into smoking pot all day, and they just want to give all their money to the poor. It's like a Robin Hood kind of mentality, that kind of thing. And I don't think that that's really truthful. I think that in the middle, obviously there's a moderate approach. There's fiscal conservative, there's extreme conservative, there's extreme left, There's radical left, whatever that now means. Radical right, that's the new thing. The extreme right, I guess, the extreme people that go to the Capitol, with weapons, led by, as the evidence is starting to show, it's hard to kind of really understand it, but somehow I guess President Trump at the time was fully aware they were armed. I can't say in his mind they were dangerous. I think in our minds, I think most people's minds would say armed and dangerous. And he's like, well, they're probably, it's almost like a sketch comedy that Steve Martin would perform. I don't think even Alec Baldwin, especially now, could play it. But you have Steve Martin going, hey, you know what? Yeah, they've got guns, but they're probably not here for me. Yeah, no problem. Let's go. Let's go to the Capitol. Let's head over there. So, I don't know. I think it is sad from a certain standpoint that people have a hard time just reckoning with that and accepting that. If I guess presumably if you're a diehard, 2024 Trump supporter. But what doesn't help anything is extreme views and a feeling of people being pushed too quickly beyond what they're ready to accept, and that would be progressive politics, progressive culture, especially coming out of Pride Month. Obama very wisely had said that he had done a lot in a relatively short period, in 8 years, which is true. He had certainly done a lot for let's call it in general civil rights, gay rights, whatever have you. But he also understood that there's a kind of a temperament with the American people, and he certainly, coming out of office, had now incredible, unique experience with that. But I don't think that was really adhered to, nor taken, I think, to heart as it should have been. And I think now there's a pendulum that's swinging all over the place in this country, and SCOTUS is ready to undo a lot of what I personally would believe, and I'm a fiscal conservative, but I personally would believe, being raised a bleeding heart liberal, really not just a liberal, I was bleeding, really, my mother was a bleeding heart liberal. We made progress. I mean, gay rights, gay marriage it's a good thing. I know some people would disagree with me. Maybe some people want to unsubscribe. Some people don't. They think that's evil, which is it's sad. But I grew up in an environment in New York where I had a lot of uncles, per se, that were in the they were fashion designers, and I grew up in a time when AIDS killed a lot of my mother's friends. These people were mostly my mother's friends, and I literally had firsthand experience watching people deteriorate under this horrible virus, which people of this generation can't relate. But there was people turned their backs on the gay community when they were the most vulnerable, and fortunately that community was extremely adept at organizing and really starting to understand what was happening within their community. And really, if you look at the beginning of the pushback on the virus, it really came from that particular community. My mother, when she was alive, you should say, she was very emphatic about how much loss we were experiencing and people were ignorant to. That loss was aesthetic. The world would not have as much of a dynamic, a beauty, that so much